So I've mentioned them quite a few times in my Premier League reviews and how well they're doing this season, but I wanted to go more in depth about just how good Nottingham Forest are at the moment. They are absolutely flying in the Premier League. There can be no doubt about that whatsoever. They are up in third place at the moment. They are ahead of Chelsea, Arsenal and Aston Villa. Aston Villa, of course, top of the Champions League. Arsenal, a team that many were touting as a potential challenger to Manchester City this season in the Premier League. Only Man City and Liverpool are above Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. They had a resounding 3-0 victory against West Ham at the weekend, and it's no fluke that they're so far up there. You know, a common criticism, especially early on in the season when it comes to sides being really high up the table, it's like, oh, you haven't played anybody good yet, you know, but they've managed to win against Liverpool. Let me just repeat that. They're the only side to win against Liverpool this season. Not even Arsenal could manage that when they played them at the Emirates. That was a draw. And they managed it at Anfield. Something that not even the great Brian Clough managed during his tenure at Nottingham Forest. He never managed to beat Liverpool at Anfield. It's their first win there since the 60s. And that's a real highlight result, don't get me wrong, but they've been very, very solid as well throughout the rest of this league campaign. I mean, let's just go through this season. Let's go result by result here, because I'm just going to focus on the Premier League. There's no point focusing on the EFL Cup because they're actually out in the second round and it wasn't very good for them. But anyway, it started out relatively average. I mean, a draw at home against Bournemouth, you know, it's kind of probably what you expect from a side that, let's not forget, right, Nottingham Forest were a side last season that if it wasn't for the three promoted sides, Sheffield United, Luton Town and Burnley being so terrible, in most other Premier League seasons, Nottingham Forest would have been relegated with their points total, especially with the points deduction that they got. They were only safe effectively because there were three sides that were even more terrible than them. Nottingham Forest were not particularly good last season. Their points haul was not a good one, but they've managed to survive. They've managed to consolidate the players they've already got. They kept Nuno on, and they've focused, instead of, you know, complaining about VAR calls when being a bit of a joke of a club last season at times, they really focused on just improving themselves on the pitch. And the squad, the togetherness of the team, they really seem to be playing incredibly well right now. It just shows how good of a coach Nuno is for these. I mean, this might sound a bit disrespectful, but these smaller Premier League clubs, and smaller I mean anybody outside of that top 7, that top 8. I'm including Aston Villa in that top 8 because they're doing incredibly well and they're going to be in that kind of bracket for some time now. For any of the other 12 clubs that are below that, it's a different league. But Nottingham Forest are absolutely smashing it right now. You know, wins against Southampton, wins against Palace, wins against Leicester City, wins against West Ham as well. I mean, they've got some really solid results here. The one against Liverpool is a real highlight one, like I say. But getting a draw away against Brighton, that's nothing to be sniffed at, especially when they're down to 10 men. Drawing against Chelsea away, who have been pretty good this season, when they're down to 10 men as well. A resounding 3-1 victory in the East Midlands derby against Leicester City, where they absolutely schooled them at the King Power Stadium. They absolutely schooled them, you know, and that shows that, I mean, obviously it's different resources and stuff at Leicester. They've not really been able to sign many players because of the financial burdens they're under at the moment, but that really just show the passing of the guard, really, showing what Nottingham Forest had in a decent manager in Steve Cooper, you know, someone who can grind out a result and probably get your club to survive, which is probably what Leicester are going to do this season. To having it under Nuno, where they're playing so well, playing out of the skin, and fully deserve to be where they are. I mean, they've only been beaten once this entire season. And that was a bit of a freak result. That was one against Fulham at home. You know, Fulham having a decent season this time as well, but Forest have just kept it going. 5 wins, 4 draws and 1 defeat. They are looking so solid right now. And nobody, and I mean nobody's going to want to go to the City ground right now to play them. And who are they playing next? They've got Newcastle at home next, who have not been having the best season, really, looking a bit resurgent recently. And then they've got Arsenal away. They've also got Man City coming up away in the next few fixtures. So there's some really big tests in there. There absolutely is. And Villa at home as well. That's another tough one. You know, so there are some really tough games in there for Nottingham Forest. And to say, you know, to expect them to continue this vein of form is a massive ask. And most Forest, like one of my good mates is a Forest fan. Shout out Joe if you're listening. You know, and he's optimistic about it. But I know deep down he's like, well, let's just enjoy it while it lasts. But Can they make it into Europe? Can they make it into Europe? Well, honestly, it's possible. It's genuinely possible right now. Now, it depends a little bit on what happens in the cup competitions and also what happens in the European competitions. I don't expect this to happen, but say, for example, Manchester United win the Europa League and they finish like 9th or something like that in the Premier League. They would qualify for the Champions League, but if they were to qualify and they were to qualify for the Champions League via the Europa League, but finish like 6th or something like that, that would push the European places down. In general, to finish in the European places in the Premier League, you probably need to be in the top 7. Now, I would expect over the course of an entire season the likes of Arsenal, the likes of Villa, the likes of Chelsea to overtake Forest, but I wouldn't say with absolute certainty that Spurs are going to do better than them. I think they've got it. I think they probably will. Manchester United, they've got big potential. Amarin's coming in. He's going to take time to work his kind of stuff with the squad, though. He's going to have to bring his own guys in for that, which he's going to have to wait until January to do so. And then you look at the likes of Newcastle. They just seem too inconsistent. They seem to be doing really well at times and then not so well at others. So it's really, really tough to predict. But right now, Nottingham Forest, I think, have got an outside shot of getting into Europe. There's no... I mean, you've seen the likes of some teams that have made it into Europe in recent times. The likes of West Ham, which have been solid but not amazing. You know, and they still make it in there through like a 7th, 8th place finish. I think Nottingham Forest could be that side this season. I don't think it's particularly likely. But there's no reason right now, on the current form of things, that Forest cannot outperform the likes of Brighton, the likes of Newcastle, even the likes of Man United over an entire season. So there's a lot of things to happen in terms of the cup competitions. They obviously can't qualify for Europe via the EFL Cup. They've been knocked out of that. For them to do it via the FA Cup would be something short of a miracle, really. But again, don't think they'd be complaining. So it depends who qualifies for Europe through those means and where the European places kind of shake up. We'll get a much better idea of that around March time. I know it's a long way away, but that's how long these things kind of take to get settled. We're not going to know who's won the EFL Cup till then, and we're not going to know who's going to be in the FA Cup quarterfinals, round of 16 until that sort of time too. So those are my kind of thoughts on it, guys. I think they are absolutely deserving all the plaudits they're getting right now. And long may it continue. I mean, as a Sheffield United fan, not the biggest fan of Nottingham Forest. There's a bit of a rivalry between our two clubs, but anybody who's upset in the order, anybody like Villa have done these last few seasons as well, anybody who's upset in the order, who's sticking it to the rich 7, I'm all for it. So long may it continue. So yeah, best of luck to Nottingham Forest throughout the rest of this season. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope you keep staying up there, because you've got some tough games coming up. But who knows? Who knows? Only one loss so far this season. How long can that stay the case? We'll have to see and find out. But yeah, for much more football reactions and analysis and opinions and everything in between, do keep it tuned here to thefootballchronicle.com. Like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the bell as well, and we'll see you very soon, guys. Have a good one.